Hey there, cake fans. Today's video is going to be more like a podcast, blog, vlog type situation. I used to have a blog called In the Name of Cake. It got kind of big in the cake community, but it died down after, I don't know, they didn't shut down Blogger because it's still here. You can still look at it, but I decided let's go back and revisit some of those points I made, revisit some of those blog articles I wrote. Maybe things have changed in the last, I mean, heck, I made that in 2013. Maybe things have changed in the last 11 years. This is coming from someone who doesn't necessarily do it professionally, but I would say that my skills are those of someone you would find who does cake professionally. So, anyway, the first thing I want to talk about is wedding cakes, and specifically people who want to DIY their own wedding cakes. For a while, or even still, a lot of brides will DIY a lot of their wedding. It's one of the more affordable options. It can add a nice personal touch to your wedding, and some people just find it fun. Some people are really crafty, they want to do things themselves. So, making the invitations, making the centerpieces, um, any signage. It's a thing you can DIY. The thing is, though, some people want to DIY their wedding cake. That's a bold move, I would say. That's almost on par with like being your own DJ at your wedding or making your own dress, which some people do, but then again, you can work on it. You can work on your dress for months and months and months ahead of time. You could probably start your wedding dress 10 years ahead of time. Cake, not so much. Cake, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. If you do, I'm not going to your wedding. Please don't invite me. My point is that some things should be left to the professionals, and one of those things is cake. Even brides that are in the cake business, cake industry, probably should not make their own cake. But if you're doing it for budget reasons, for money reasons, maybe you're like, well, I can totally make the cake myself. I've baked a cake before. Surely it's not that hard. True, baking isn't that hard. And maybe you can. Maybe if you have 20 people attending your wedding and you want to just pump out a few sheet cakes, slap some frosting on there, a few edible flowers, then yeah, sure, go for it. And if it fits the theme, if it's rustic, if it's in a barn, which a lot of weddings are, then I think that's fine. On second thought, actually, you should leave that to a bridesmaid, honestly, because even a simple cake, even a simple, in a pan, in the 9 by 13 glass pan cake, you don't want to worry about the day of your wedding. Okay. You don't want to be lining up for your makeup and hair and putting on your dress, making sure everything's in order that your matron of honor hasn't already done. And then also be thinking about, okay, I have to bake a cake, I have to frost the cake and decorate it. That's just a bad idea. All of that together, especially if you're the DIY bride, you're thinking about so many other things. Don't think about your cake. It's perishable. Let someone else handle that. Brides might even say, oh, I'm only having 50 people at my wedding. I'm only having 80 people at my wedding. Okay, have you ever made cake for that many people? Not like at a potluck, but actually made cake so that there's one serving per person. A 9 by 13 glass pan that's going to be like a single layer of cake frosted that only feeds 12 people. If you don't want to be generous, if you want to give them itty bitty slices, maybe 18, maybe even 24. Maybe if you have a bunch of other desserts, that's okay. You can have tiny little pieces of cake. If you're serving up slices out of a quarter sheet cake, that's the size of a quarter sheet cake, is 9 by 13. That is only one layer thick. You would need at least 7 of those pans to feed everyone. I don't think you want to be going through that even the day before. There's a lot of stuff leading up to the day of. It's just not something I think the bride should take on. Another option that brides sometimes go with is, okay, I'm just going to go to the store, buy 2, 3 half sheets already made and then redecorate them. I'll take off, whatever, like if there's balloons, that'll, take out the stress of actually baking the cake. You just have to decorate it yourself. You just got to throw on a few edible flowers, some fancy sprinkles. Side note, there are sprinkles that are like metallic. You can get like edible glitter or like disco dust. Okay, those are some viable options. There's actually a whole company called Fancy Sprinkles. I love them. Not a sponsor. Anyway, back to the point. You're going to redecorate those grocery store cakes. Okay. When your photographer goes to film the cake cutting ceremony, it's not going to look great. Okay, just keep that in mind. If you're a person that's all about aesthetics, if you're a person that wants to, have an album full of photos that are beautiful and professional, cutting into a sheet cake, underwhelming. It's not going to be that exciting for you and also your guests, because your guests are expecting something exciting. I take that back. I've been to a couple weddings now where, like, right after speeches, they already cut into the cake and like they don't tell anyone because like the photographer just wants to get that shot. So they're not like making it known to all the guests and stuff. It's really weird. I personally don't like that. I want everyone to be like, whoa, they're cutting the cake. But you do you, boo. And yeah, they taste fine. I'm not saying they don't. Okay. I love grocery store cake. I will go out of my way to get grocery store cake. But it's not really what people expect at a wedding. Not saying that you should live up to your guests' expectations, but weddings are kind of the one place where people can be a little bougie. People can go and they dress up and they expect kind of a nice meal and a nice cake to go with it, a nice dessert. Grocery store sheet cake isn't really that. You can also, you can put flowers on it, but you should consult with your florist first. Even when you're putting like real flowers on your cake, you got to be careful. Some of them are poisonous and they're also plants, so things might be living in them. I don't personally like putting live flowers on cake. If you have a reputable florist, though, they can do all that for you. And then you're like, well, I'll just use fake flowers because fake flowers are just as pretty and not poisonous and also no pesticides or bugs or whatever. Have you seen how silk flowers are made? Do you know how many hands touch them? Do you know how much machinery they go through? Do you know how they're shipped and they're boxed and they're transported? I'm not saying they're disgusting, but there's going to be dust. There's going to be whatever is on people's hands. There's going to be whatever's floating around in the craft store. Let's pray that the silk flowers aren't going to be by the bathrooms. I don't even want to think about that. A word of caution if you're going to put flowers, real or fake, on your wedding cake. There's, good examples of DIY wedding cakes made from birthday cakes. There's lots of tutorials. Once again, just make sure you're not putting poisonous flowers on your cake. Common one is baby's breath. Baby's breath is not good. After all of that has been said, if you do not have a budget or you have budgeted so you have a good amount set aside for your cake, do it. Hire a professional. Go to tastings, look at their portfolios, multiple people, multiple cake decorators, because I can guarantee you someone out there is probably using fake pictures. I'm not saying all of them, and 1 out of 20, I don't know. There's a lot of phonies out there. There's a lot of beginners out there that are like, well, this is what I could. No, it's not. If it's not your work, that's not what you can do. And in this day and age, in this market, there are plenty of professional cake decorators. Trust me, the market is almost saturated. I live in a small town, and I could probably ask my town Facebook group for a cake decorator, and I'd get at least 4 to 5 in my area. Maybe not in my town, but in my area. Less than a 30-minute drive. to find one. It's the only food at your wedding that gets its special little ceremony. The cake cutting, that's part of the itinerary for a wedding. Why wouldn't you want to have your cake be as beautiful as it can be? As beautiful as the bride is. And, the groom too. If you have the budget, go for a pro. All in all, DIYing your wedding, you have to pick and choose your battles. If you want to pick your wedding cake, more power to you. Good luck, even if it's a rustic wedding. I've seen plenty of those like naked wedding cakes. Naked wedding cakes are rustic, but they're still beautiful. It still might cost the same as a normal wedding cake. Yes, I know. But there's still a lot of attention to detail that goes into it. There's still a lot of thought that goes into it. There's still a lot of planning. You got to know what you're doing when you're making a naked wedding cake, because I've seen some not great naked wedding cakes. Set aside money to hire a professional, okay? Get the dress of your dreams, right? Find the perfect venue. Order a cake that is going to not only look amazing, but tastes amazing. Because, best case scenario, you only get one wedding. Thanks for watching, cake fans. If you want more talkies like these, make sure you like and subscribe. I also have a series called What They Wanted versus What They Got. It's both on YouTube. There's only one video right now. This is literally my second video. But I have a whole bunch on my TikTok at Alex Olts, ALEXOLTS. Yeah, be sure to tune in for more cake videos. Bye, cake fans. Bye.